Hi, it's Prescott Knight here, and we're here for our second Monday Fun Day. And so I hope this is going to be kind of interesting. Today I'm just going to talk about, one of the problems I get living in Poland is that lots of people ask, where are you from? What's that like? And things like this. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about sometimes some of the things I had growing up and some of the things that are just really different. Um, I'm from an area in Los Angeles County, so actually Downey, California. It's a small city in Southern California, and I was born at home, which was kind of interesting because my sister, I have an older sister, 1 year older, and she was born in a hospital, and I guess my parents didn't like the hospital experience, and so I was born at home. Now, I think the real reason was that my mom just didn't feel like going out because it was her birthday. Because I was born on my mom's birthday. Yeah, it was a big birthday present. And this was kind of fun growing up because my birthday was never forgotten. My dad had kind of a bad memory. He would forget things a lot. And so this was kind of nice because all the time I can. Thank you, Daisy. All the time I would remind my dad that, in a week it's mom's birthday, don't forget. And she would always say, honey, in a week it's Press's birthday, don't forget. And so our birthdays was never forgotten. So that's nice. Um, Los Angeles is a big place, lots of people, lots of cars, lots of freeways. Um, it's always kind of funny the things that people think that's true because everyone says that, oh, Los Angeles, beautiful beaches, and it's like, yeah, the beach is okay, sandy, yeah, but the water's cold and dirty, and it's, I remember as a kid swimming, but now that as an adult I'd probably be like, wow, that's cold, that's cold. Anyways, we'll get back to that in a little bit. When I was about 16, we moved to near Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so that was a smaller city. So moving to the Midwest and a smaller city. And I found myself actually more comfortable there than in the bigger city. Then when I was in my 20s, I moved to Poland. So now I'm still living in Poland. I lived for a long time in Torun, in a town in the north of Poland. And if you guys know any of your physics history, that was where Nicholas Copernicus was born. Sorry, the Polish name got in my head for a second, which is Mikołaj, not Nicholas. And so I got mixed up. And now I live in the mountains in the south of Poland. And mountains are kind of crazy here. If you look at it, when I say in the mountains, there's a large area with lots of small mountains. And so they're small, probably, I don't know, like 400 meters. So for those of you like 1,500 feet or so. And I live in Mszana Dolna, which for those of you who don't speak Polish, that means lower Mszana. And yes, there's an upper Mszana, which is up the hill a little bit. And I work, for example, in Kasinka Mała, which is translated to Little Kashina. And there's also a Kashina Wielka, which is a great Kashina. And so this region all has, almost every city has like an upper, lower, big, little. It's kind of funny for me. And if you look at a map, when I first saw this region, when I came here for vacation one summer, I looked at the map and it's like the opposite of islands. And if you think about a bunch of small little islands and people live on the islands and they don't live on the water in between the islands, well, here it's the opposite because there's a bunch of small mountains and everybody lives in between the mountains. And so the roads are kind of funny that sometimes there's only one road to get from one place to the other because it goes through the valleys between the mountains. And so we always have that. It's a collection of little tiny villages. So, the village that I work in is like 2,000 people. There's another village that I go to for a little bit of work. It's probably even less, probably about 1,000 people. And so there's a whole collection of different villages. And so people kind of think differently around here. It's really funny that just the general idea of the way people think, it's completely different. I try and make comparisons to when I was growing up. And for example, I've only until about a couple years ago, I had to clean snow from the driveway. Now, our driveway in our house, in my house here, it's at a pretty big angle because the driveway goes pretty much down into the basement. And I've learned because Los Angeles, the city, doesn't get any snow. And so I've never had to clean snow. I never had to walk in snow. And I've learned as I'm older, I fall a lot in snow. And so I have a theory that walking in snow is something that you kind of have to learn as a kid, how to walk in snow properly. Because if you don't, then when you're an adult, you're going to fall a lot. And so that's what I do. And I remember the first time I tried cleaning snow from the driveway, and I thought, this will be easy. And I fell, of course, landed on my face. And when I found out when I finished, I got back up. I came back upstairs, and Elizabeth, my fiance, asked me, "Oh, what happened?" No, I just cleaned the snow. "Well, why do you have blood all over your face?" And I had blood dripping down, just because I had never cleaned snow. And I even talked to some kids this whole week. We just had some beautiful spring weather. It's just starting to get spring, and I would remind the kids that I would say, "Oh yeah, this reminds me of winter when I was a kid." And they said, "Wait, what do you mean winter?" It was like 5 degrees, which is about maybe 40 in the morning, and then 15 in the afternoon, which is about, okay, I don't want to lie, about maybe mid-50s, lower 60s, mid-50s, 60s, something like that. And I'm like, yeah, this is the weather I had in winter when I was a kid. And they said, "You didn't have any snow?" And it's like, no, there was never any snow, not in the city. Yeah, you could drive to the mountains and there would be snow sometimes, but we didn't keep snow in the city. It just makes life so difficult. And so, as you grow up, you start to think that this is kind of normal. And a couple funny stories. When I first moved to Mishana I got my job, and of course I teach usually not really small kids. Our school teaches kids starting at about 3-4 years old. And so for some reason, kids are usually terrified of me, probably just because I'm a big guy. And so I don't usually teach the small kids. In Toron, I taught small kids at 3 years old, and they just got used to me. But right now I usually get older kids, starting at like maybe the youngest I teach is about maybe 9-10 years old. And one time I had a new group of kids, so 5 new kids, and I was just trying to get them to say things in English, and so we were talking about their pets. As you guys saw, I have a cat. Her name is Daisy. She's this nice white cat. And so kids were talking about their pets. And one boy says that, "Oh yeah, I have a dog, and I have a cat, and I have some rabbits." And I asked him, "Oh, you have some rabbits. How many rabbits have you got?" And he looked confused, and he's like, "I don't know how many rabbits I have." And I was a little confused also. It's like, wait, you have pet rabbits, and you don't know how many you have? And then I thought, wait a second. And I asked him, "Do you guys eat rabbits?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we sometimes eat rabbits." And all the kids in the group were like, "Oh yeah, it happens. People raise rabbits, they kill them, and then they make rabbit soup or rabbit stew or something." And it's like, wow, that's kind of different. But nobody thought it was different. And the stories, when I first started, also, I wanted to check how well they did for their books for last year. So I told all my group that, I need everyone to bring their books from last year, bring it next week, and we're going to make sure that we know everything from the book last week. We're just going to look at it quickly. And one of the boys says, "I can't bring my book." I said, "Okay, you can't bring your book. Why? What's wrong? Why can't you bring your book?" He said, "Well, my mom burned it." And I remember thinking, "Your mom burned your book?" And he's like, "Yeah, my mom burned my book." And she burned your book? And I kind of look at all the other kids, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it happens. Moms burn books all the time. It's just something that normally happens." And I found out later that we have in my house, we have gas heating, but we also have coal heating. So we also burn a few tons of coal every year. My father-in-law Mr. Stefan, he loves burning coal in his fire, in his little, we have a little heater unit that we burn coal. And yes, every once in a while it's like, oh, this trash goes into the burner to help heat our house, to heat our water. And so that's just a different way of living. So yeah, I know lots of people who have their own chickens and bees, and I'm extremely jealous because I would love to have chickens to get fresh eggs. I would love to have bees in the garden. And for now, this is just an unfulfilled dream that I had. And yeah, it's so different than the way I grew up. I mean, I grew up, of course, having a house. Now, I was very lucky. The neighborhood that I lived, not the house that I was born, but the neighborhood that I lived in for a long time in California, it was called, the neighborhood, city was Cerritos, which is Spanish for Little Hills. I remember learning that in grade school. And the neighborhood that I lived in was like a closed neighborhood. There weren't fences all around to like security guards, but there was only one street in, and you could only get to houses. So there wasn't a lot of traffic. So I remember playing in the street a lot when I was growing up, that I would play in the street with friends or ride my bike. I had a go-kart that was gas-powered go-kart that I loved, and so I drove that all the time, going everywhere. And so I was really happy that there weren't a lot of cars when I was growing up. And it's a little different in Poland. Even the small villages that I work at, all the houses are on the main road. And then, yes, the cars drive very fast on this main road. And so, Daisy, stop playing. I'm filming, Daisy. Stop being stupid. Sorry about that. The cat was about to knock things off the table. So I remember being lucky that I could play in the street when I was younger. And for example, my neighborhood had a swimming pool that was reserved for the people who lived in this neighborhood. So we had like a community swimming pool. And I was telling a story the other day to one of my students. We were talking about differences growing up. Now she is pretty much my age, so she's still practicing her English for work. And she was mentioning that she lived in a small village, so she had, I think she had cows to help take care of, and all these animals that they were taking care of at the time. And so she had lots of responsibilities, especially in the summer. And I was telling the story, I remember, and sorry Mom that I'm telling these stories, but I remember we had one summer, there was this neighborhood girl, I guess, I don't know where my mom found her. Anyway, she came to our house to watch over my sister and I. She took care of us and made sure we didn't do anything stupid all summer long. And I don't know, I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, maybe 7. So I was pretty young and needed someone to make sure I didn't do stupid things. And I remember she was probably like 16, 17, and we went to the swimming pool every day. So when she came in the morning, and she'd always be like, okay, let's get dressed and go to the swimming pool. And I remember this got kind of boring because, yeah, you can play in the swimming pool, play with my sister. Of course, the swimming pool was empty because everyone else was at work. And so I remember going to the swimming pool and every day for like 3 or 4 hours. And it was probably easier for this girl because she could just take us there and she would just say, okay, go play, don't do anything stupid. And so, but this, I remember it's like, oh, we're going to the swimming pool again. We've already gone 4 times this week and it's only Wednesday. And so I remember kind of too much of it. And so, so this was something that I remember. And here where I live, there's one small swimming pool, and this is a big thing that kids say, oh wow, we get to go to the swimming pool. And so yeah, swimming pools sometimes even now are kind of like nothing special for me. And so yeah, that the region here is just beautiful. I have to say that, every place I look at, there's mountains, so you can always see mountains. And definitely, it's probably in one of my other videos, we'll start talking about how people get happy, because I've been thinking about that a lot more as I get older. What makes people happy? and things like this. And I can say that just about the happiest thing, having been able to go on a little walk in the forest in the mountains makes people really happy. So I remember a funny story when I went once to New York City and went to Central Park. And I remember going to Central Park and beautiful day, lots of people, the park was filled, and I thought, wow, this is wonderful. Look at all these people going to the park and having vacations and picnics and playing baseball. And then I thought for a second, I thought, wow, how terrible to grow up as a kid and thinking that trees are only in parks. You can't get trees outside your house. You can't get things like this. I know I spent just a couple days ago, Friday, I went shopping to buy seeds for the garden. So I went with Elizabeth's mom, and we went to the little home improvement store, I guess you would call it. It's called Mruvka, which means ant. And so we went to the ant, and we bought a bunch of seeds for the garden. And so if the weather holds up, except that today it looks like a little bit of snow, and so I guess winter's not quite done. But once it starts warming up, we're going to start planting things in the garden, and we're going to have fun with the garden. I didn't get to talk at all about why I came to Poland. I guess that'll have to be a different film. I'm from Los Angeles. Advantages of living in Los Angeles. I can know where I don't want to live. I know as I get older, I've noticed that I enjoy living in smaller and smaller towns. So I'm always, all my life, I'm moving to someplace smaller. Right now, I'm at about 10,000 people. I have a feeling by the time I'm 70, I'm probably going to live on an island with maybe like 4 people, and that'll be good, because I find out that I don't really like crowds and lots of people. It's not really that much fun. So I'm really happy here right now in Mashana Dolna, and it's funny, probably when we talk about, I'll talk about some of my hobbies, because life in small cities is much easier now than it would have been 10 years ago, just because of the abilities to buy stuff on the internet. I love internet shopping, and so I pretty much now just buy everything on the internet, and I don't really go shopping that much. Besides food, I don't really go shopping that much in regular stores. And so, seeds, okay, yeah, I know I said I bought seeds, but in the fall, I bought about 300 bulbs for the garden, so we planted those in the fall, and I bought those all through the internet. So sometime when spring comes, I'll probably add some pictures of the flowers in the garden and the garden as it's growing and some things like that. So that's where I'm from. I hope this was kind of interesting. It's surprising, these films are a little difficult to do, so I hope that I'm going to keep doing them. I hope that they're interesting. If you have any questions or anything, I'll be happy to answer them. It'll actually make my life easier, because I won't have to try and decide, wow, is this going to be interesting to talk about? It is funny that once I get started in talking, then 20 minutes goes by and I was talking the entire time. And so that's kind of what I'm getting used to in my job. I have to talk a lot. Okay, well, that's about it for Monday Funday. I'm going to be getting ready and go to work today, so that's always a fun thing. Got those kids to educate, and so I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much, and goodbye.